Hello and welcome. Today's date, the 19th of March 2020. All bets, trades of the like, well, that's each his own risk and their own reward. Bitcoin coming in that of 6,323 as at 1300 and 3/4 hours, 1346 on the time frame. We're at levels not seen since the morning of March the 12th. So a little better than 7-day highs, which isn't that much. I suppose it's a start, or it's the only time amongst the single-hour term time frame it's had any okay amount of movements above the 18 average of highs during this entire down run. Before we had this very interesting little intra move, insta rejected play 4 days ago, which caused failed move, concise move to the opposite direction. Not that big of one, but definitely one that I would consider one to be credential. After all, it did break below the support for a good leg lower to justify that. It did a little bit here. And what was good about that little bit there was it held. And that's what's always important whenever you have that move. So same thing on the one going on now is to hold. And well, this is the more obvious must hold spot as it stands now. But we've seen within the current run how we had a couple periods, if not three even, on the 2 o'clock hour stamp as we finished last night going into the midnight, 2 o'clock, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, showing this low volatile strength at this level. And then it had the nice short-term breakout at 5 o'clock, 2 periods holding it, another breakout, 3 periods holding it, and now we're going through 2 periods, breaking through with a little bit of correctionary move, both from the low wick here and this high one in the previous period. 4-minute time frame, we can just take a look within it that we had the nice little rally at 9 o'clock, go a little bit sideways, but even of note in here, we can see how it was supporting between 11:30, 11:50, this little area of resistance that it had. And then intra move before these beautiful 2 green candles that it had. Well, it had this little sideways consolidation. Now, what have we had since in here? Well, from great up moves come great correctionary within its trend plays. And then that formated 2 decent green candles, a nice pause one, and then 2 more good ones to the 18 average of highs. And the amount of periods that it had, with one failed, well, I'll call it a failed breakout, along the way in here is tremendous. And the failure occurring right in here. But when it failed, because it got above here and it didn't start any great bull market, it did hold this support and all of this low volatile showing strength for continuous periods on from this high. Was telling you that the probability that we'd go up within this range that it has done was pretty good. So now what situation we're there? Now we'll see how resistance is being held here. It could be. This is one of those spots where I'm definitely looking at weak resistance. In that, I don't think the 18 average of lows is going to do anything, is not going to fail. I think if it goes below it, only for a couple minutes, maybe 3 max. And I don't even think it's going to do that. We might come back down and find support where we came from at 62.82 short term. We're piercing above this resistance now and it hasn't had a clear break of a good move yet. This level would coincide probably with the 18 average of lows if on the short term. I wish this was a 1-minute time frame because then I can just watch it out a little bit further. Yeah, for yourself, of course, you can see how it looks. And 5-minute time frame would pretty much look about the same as it plays out on the daily. We're in a downtrend. 18 average of the highs and the lows, highest and lowest prices, front weighted, is declining, and we're now in the correctionary phase as it has reached and surpassed the lows. The 18 average of highs currently comes in at about 68 and change, which would be a good 500 point move, or another 7, 8, 9%. Any last areas of where we came from is still a long ways away on the daily chart. In fact, we've just surpassed these ones in here. So isn't any new ones until here, unless of course we look at, how about this? Do we have this area? Lower end? We're approaching that now. That's about 65. We also can see that it works in towards here, just to stay within the conjunction range if it's in here. Maybe you can say, okay, this little support level coincides. Yeah, that's the range, 6,300 to about, well, 75 or so, which is the lower end of that slot machine, or not slot machine, yeah, slot machine, casino, 77 handle. And I just use that as a reference for easy remembrance of the number. And that was always what was just that possible inverted head and shoulders pattern. Keyword was possible. You have this, what was the left possible shoulder, the head comes back to the neckline. So now if we find support in this general area, then lift back higher. No, we didn't find support in that general area. Didn't find support here either, and had a decent sized leg. It was this level that we need to come down to. And that's where we congested here. This same congestion area here. It pierced significantly lower, of course, because it pierced down to 36 even, 38 on this one. So 38 coincides with this little breakout level. That was a big breakout point, because when Bitcoin had its big sudden fall, it was doing this, oh my goodness, boring stuff in here at that 6,000 mark. And I'm talking about this really just a delayed time to see how the 4-minute chart is going to look in a few minutes for the most part. I'm going to go over it again. So this was the boring 6,200, 6,300 every day for Bitcoin. Altcoins barely aren't moving much at all either. And then this happened where everything went down. Bitcoin didn't go down less than the altcoins did, but during this time frame here, when Bitcoin was like holding in there, altcoins were getting their ass kicked, lower highs and lower lows, where Bitcoin was making matching those continuously at that 6,000 handle. But after that low came in, people had to digest the fact of Bitcoin prices in the 3,000 range for a significant period of time. For it broke down below 4,000 roughly around the Thanksgiving period of 2018, US Thanksgiving, late November. And it didn't break out until April of 2019. So that was close to, but not quite, a half of a year of Bitcoin prices below or near 4,000, but usually below and near 35, 36, 3,400 was the good average during that about 4.5, 5 month tenure of time of the low prices. So you had the concise and a beautiful run from April 1st to summer solstice, I think it was. Yep, so June 27th, a little above it. So a good run for a little over 1 quarter. And it's been this long correctionary phase. While it has maintained this higher low so far, and it's moved to that low area we mentioned before, that just being in here below 4,000 was so brief. And it's now trading in a range that it hasn't spent too much time, because it spent little time falling and little time rising in there. We're also at a stage where it probably wouldn't be a surprise if this is little time in this range again. And of course the range being, we'll say, nicely over 4,000 to 7, maybe 6. Well, where we are now anyway, we're 6,300 in that boring range. And if I'll show you what it looked like back then, this was just what it was looking like on the daily chart. All of these low volatile days, the percentage moves back then, which I was talking about. So October 27th of this year, a high of 64.20, a low of 63.81. That's about 40 points. Not quite 1%. Okay, back to the 4-minute time frame. And here we are coming back. So this is where I talk about weak resistance, in that if we have a pullback, I wouldn't be surprised. And oftentimes I usually expect this to happen, what's happening now, where we have this little bit of resistance in here. We have a run to this previous high. That's exactly where it went to. So now it's coming back. It's pretty much almost entered the zone for where it came from. This high, I got a handle, I got a stamp, we'll call it, of 96.57 handle. And this is a low of 04, so a little bit above. We got 02. We're $5 away from officially hitting this exact number here of 62.9657. So it's almost there. It's doing a pretty good job in coming back to where it came from. It came down to the 18 average of highs. That's a little bit, but it does mean that the more time you spend like this and can hold in this area where you resisted, that continues to give it a lot of strength and the setup patterns to be very big. Thus, the likelihood now of breaking and having a significant leg above this resistance, which has now been twice hit, looking for hit number 3 to be taken out. And thus, part of weak resistance is just that. You have a small bet back here, and then that's it. You're going to break that level next, and we're off to the next key level. What we do after that and where that next key level is, well, we'll see if and when that happens. Usually the if and when is that. It's going to happen. And will this be a failed breakout? It could be, but it's rare, I think, for that to happen. And again, I think the chances that we find support here, even with the 18 average of lows, like 62.50, and that, again, like I stated before, that it holds, is pretty darn near good. I'll report in my next video how well it does, because I'm curious to see how we move on from here, since the amount of I've given a lot of time amongst what I just find this a phenomenal pattern because of all the strength that it's shown amongst the 18 average of highs. So as far as trying to figure out where we go, I mean, we got the 18 average of highs in this little area of resistance at about 65 change. So a very quick $200 sudden move would be far from a shock. And let's just take a look at the one. Just as you can see, it's been showing a lot of good strength amongst this one here as well. And I would expect there's a good chance again that it goes a bit higher. And back to more long-term stuff, this time monthly chart. So when looking at this from the analysis, there has never been much downtrend analysis. At least by using the 18 average, this is where it all starts here anyway. And quite frankly, this was all part of an uptrend because I can remember Bitcoin trading on its way up, going this way beforehand. It was people like Da Vinci on YouTube, Da Vinci J15 or some number. Then there was a chart video that's doing stuff like this. They did silver videos, and then they added crypto videos like I did as well back in the early days. And I watched Russia Today, which had Max Kaiser on. So those are the three sources I knew in the early days when Bitcoin existed, and I knew it existed well way back then. Anyway, uptrend pretty much its entire run. So there would have been a correctionary phase in here within the 18 if you have the data. And then you have a nice little breakout, sideways correction, never ever even gets to the 18 lows in here, keeping the uptrend alive for one final leg higher in here. Fails to correct and keep the trend within this move here and doesn't succeed in holding the 18 lows. All it had was one leg lower. Thus, all you could really call this was a sideways and a very long trend like that. As far as the 18 is concerned, it got above the excitation of the 18 average of highs occurred, and this is monthly chart. November of 2015 had several months, 5 of them, going sideways, 2 months going higher, another bit going sideways, but then a very good uptrend, establishing uncharted territories. Again, this was uncharted territories, good move, uncharted territories. If we break this resistance, uncharted territories, but that's if and when that occurs. So since then, it has been this long-standing sideways correctionary phase without a single test of support or resistance. Actually, no, I guess you can call, one test of support. This is a pierce above. Up until that one day, we hadn't had a test of it. So we've had one test of support. This is way too far from this high to count this as a test of resistance. But what it's done as far as the 18 is a small bit of time gapping below the lows. Didn't break down and obviously succeeding on this. And then a very nice, just polar opposite is this, a sustained run above it. And then now we've had a sustained movement within this correctionary phase, which is what, month number 5, 6, whatever. The short period that it had blip below it, but it's now managed at least today and at this time frame and this price point of 63 low and decent low change, 63.33. We'll call it 63 Patrick Waz. Patrick Waz. Well, he wore number 33. He's my favorite hockey player back in the day. So that's how I remember it for all threes. It's Patrick Waz. But 6,333. That's the area of the 18 average of lows. That's the average of this whole major key level of support. And a little bit below that to 6,000. It's just basically same ballpark area as it is anyway. And while it's in this sideways reaction, you can say a lot of it is until it breaks through down, then that's what it is. And you can even end up breaking below this level of support. And not only is it not guaranteed to be the end of the world for cryptocurrencies, but that literally could be a short period of time it even goes below it. And you have like an ultimate failed breakdown. That's a possibility, especially with all the fundamental stuff going on right now with the obvious. And who knows how far that pierce could be, but you could have something like that. Maybe you do have sustained time, but it could just shoot right back up into this range fast. Maybe you have sustained like a full year where it goes up to 3,500, 1 year of going from like 1,200 to 36. 12 months. After it took maybe 12 hours or 12 days, maybe more realistically. Either way, 12 days or 12 hours, it's all the same, it seems, to go from maybe here to here. And on a bullish level, it's all going to have its big movement momentums, and there's a lot of ways you can profit from this. And if you hold through this, anyone who bought in here and held through all of this was able to sell for profits in this area. And the same is going to be true for people buying in here, anywhere in these areas in here, if we do the uncharted territories again. And when that's the case, concise up move, you'd have some sort of concise up move happen again. All right, let's finish this off with a 4-minute term time frame. It has came down the 18 average of lows. So now that it's been there, this is the deeper correction I thought it could go to. I'm not thinking that it would spend too much time below it, but I realize that all good setups, if failed, create very vicious moves in the opposite direction. So because it looks so obvious that this is the trend going higher, that if we ultimately find failure in this 18 lows, and it's showing no evidence it's failing right now, then the move of the leg lower breaking down below this general area here oftentimes is fast, concise, and pretty deep, but usually fast, and that thus would make it deep size red candles. So if we're going to have a move that would say come down to, well, maybe come down to here in like literally 3-4 periods, 10, 12, 15 minutes kind of deal. And then what happens after that? Well, whatever happens, we'd be talking about, okay, key high after whatever, all these, after a kilo here, all these kilos on the way. And now we're talking about lower highs and lower lows on this run. And then it's going to end here, or it's going to end here, or it's going to end here, then it's going to go back up again. And that's just how these markets, that's just what they do. They go up, they go down. Quick look at gold on the 4-minute time frame, which is showing now having another test of the support level, a few lower highs along the way after retesting this previous resistance. Unable to hold a key really must area of around 1475. So probably with another retest of this area, looking like if we move this out here, even more retest of this area, that it's gonna continue to go lower. We're showing a lot of weakness on the 18 average of lows here. And of course, this has been in a downtrend that really hasn't ended yet. So overall, the fact that Bitcoin is going up when these traditional markets really aren't really doing something fantastic as of yet is interesting. And gold has been one of the better overperformings during this down run. For silver, most certainly getting its ass kicked. It's only up 0.72% for the day. So it's really more of a break-even, do nothing sideways on this down move kind of ordeal. And as far as it on the 4-minute time frame, well, we're seeing it having another set of, do we break down from the 18? And it's doing so after resisting the highs in here. So wouldn't surprise me, of course, if we, as it's 2:07 p.m., have a down period coming forward, but still hasn't broken the support, but nothing of major great moves. And it's got a long ways to go to even test to the 18 lows, as of course Bitcoin already has done such. As far as the Dow Industrials are concerned, it's DJI, it's up 1%, so that's like a really nothing day as well. Here, it's continuously making these lower highs and lower lows. On the hourly time frame, a little bit of the band flattening out, going sideways neutrality, showing some strength, if you call such. I only like to show strength when the market's at least got some sort of upward/neutral bias, but I can't. I always say show strength if that's the case. It's not doing that here. So I'll show weakness on the lows, which it's not doing. But it is hanging in there, thus neutralizing the situation. 18 average of lows is starting to flatten out on the hourly. The last time we neutralized the situation, we had a little bit of a run in here. But this is the best that this has looked since this run in here. So this entire run, and maybe a little bit of neutralization here on March the 10th, 11th. But it's been, of course, in a major downtrend. And daily chart, just like gold and silver, but not like Bitcoin, well below the 18 average of lows. And this brings me to the Bitcoin to gold ratio, which is now at 4.23. Bitcoin really drives this price as well, so it's having a decent sized move from 2.5 to 4.22, 4.2 And if I'm hoping that I can get one more good silver buy before the silver gets out of hand. 'Cause I don't know if I really should be talking about things about like doing about the. I'd like to talk about like just in reference. I mean, you probably don't know where I'm getting at, and I know a couple of you will. But like a video game like Command and Conquer, it's almost like we're playing that game now. It almost seems like the commands were made and the conquering is being done. And I think the net play to all this, that the civilians will get, I mean, they have like things that they buy things with. We'll say money, whatever that is, whatever units they use. We'll just call it dollars. And people get that. We'll have a lot of inflation. Gold and silver prices will go much higher. I think cryptos will too. But if crypto prices can have a nice little run, at least before the silver prices have a big play, I'm hoping that the ratio for this, thus the Bitcoin to silver ratio, the same sort of tune as well, has a play where this just continues to go up as well. And it gets above this 18 average of highs here of 6, 7, 8, 9, who knows, 10, 12, 20, maybe 30. And silver becomes, if it's available to be bought, and I hope it is easily availability to be purchased at that level. The amount of silver that people are buying right now in gold is phenomenal. I don't know how much people are actually putting into Bitcoin, but right now, of course, on the very short term, 4-minute time frame today, the Bitcoin prices are at 62.37. This is the Coinbase one. So we'll take a quick look at these Fibonacci levels in here. Weekly chart for Bitcoin. Finding, I guess, piercing below this level of support. But now we're at this key resistance of 63.42. So interesting how what's the high right now? 63.92. Already pulled back 160 basis points. So I mentioned that if it's going to fail us on here, and we're seeing a weakness on the 18 average of lows right now, that we could have a concise correctionary move. And who knows, again, if it's going to be bullish or bearish. Bullish is in, we fall down to, like, again, 6,000, and then we go back up to 63, and then up to 66, 69. That's bullish. And even those, maybe even go down to, like, 55 and then back up, wherever we go down to if we do something like that. And then bearish, of course, we hit another lower high at the 63 level, and then we're just going to go back down. We're going to at least, I don't know if we'd make a lower low on that, like 30, whatever, 1,000, but the next time we rally higher, we're not going to rally to 63. We'll rally to something less. That's what we'd be like in a bearish situation. So it's all part of this game and interesting fundamental times that is going to be driving this. We're also in a time frame where people are going to be on YouTube more, because they have the time to do so where they never did before. what they watch and what they do with that YouTube time, and if they ever happen to come across that of the gold, silver, Bitcoin information that might help them, whether they get information to fiat currency, stuff like hidden secrets of money. If people get in tune to that type of information, it's just now easily for it to happen, well, that makes times very interesting. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.